When you decide to embrace your true self, loneliness often follows. Why? Because most people around you want you to conform to their standards or be a version of themselves. But when you realize you're unique, special, and capable of achieving your dreams, stepping into that identity can make you feel isolated. I've said this many times. Every true vision starts with just one believer, the person who holds the vision. That's what makes it a lonely journey. However, what draws people to you is your determination to pursue your vision, even if it means being alone. When you embrace your aloneness and use it purposefully, others begin to follow. Personally, I've spent much of my life alone. And even now, I feel that solitude, but I'm not lonely because I understand it's a natural part of leadership. A leader is often out front, blazing the trail where no one else has been. If you're surrounded by everyone, you're simply part of the crowd. Leaders live a lonely life because they choose to. It's a necessary decision if you want to change the world. History shows us that all great leaders found themselves in solitude. Moses in the wilderness, Jesus in the desert, Paul on his journey of self-discovery. They chose the path of isolation to find clarity, purpose, and strength. When you pursue something greater than the crowd, you eventually end up leading the crowd. Someone once said, "You can't lead an orchestra unless you turn your back to the crowd." Think about that for a moment. To be a true leader, you must turn away from the crowd and focus on conducting your vision. That's how you lead a meaningful life. Discipline is the foundation of leadership. It's the very quality that naturally draws people to you. A disciplined individual inspires admiration because people respect the self-control and commitment that discipline represents. Think about athletes. They captivate us not just because of their talent, but because of the discipline they exhibit. That's why we admire their performances and why they're chosen to promote products. It's not just about their fame. It's about their discipline. When we see an athlete, we subconsciously associate their success with the hard work and consistency they've put in. Take Michael Jordan, for example. When Nike sells his shoes, they're not just selling a product. They're selling the discipline behind his greatness. The idea being sold is, if you want to be like Mike, wear these shoes. Now, we know wearing those shoes alone won't make us perform like him, but we buy into the aspiration behind his discipline and achievements. The same principle applies to you. If you remain consistent and disciplined in your own life, people will be drawn to you. They'll admire you, seek to learn from you, and some may even pay just to observe your example. That's the power of discipline. It commands trust and respect. According to the Bible, discipline is born from vision. Vision gives direction, and direction requires discipline to stay the course. Change, on the other hand, is inevitable. It's a fundamental principle of life. Everything that is alive will change, and even things that aren't alive are subject to change. I recently visited the Bahamas after a 4-year gap, though I had been going regularly for the past 10 years. When I returned last month, everything was different. The airport was new, and the woman I spoke to asked, "What happened to the old airport?" This moment reminded me that even things that aren't alive undergo change. Look at nature. A river flowing down a mountain gradually wears away the rock. If you revisit that mountain 10 years later, the river is wider, the landscape altered. Change is embedded in creation. It's part of life itself. As Ecclesiastes says, "To everything there is a season, and to every purpose under heaven there is a time." How many things have a season? Everything. Understanding this was a turning point for me as a teenager. It changed my perspective on life. Realizing that everything is seasonal brought me immense peace. Here's why. If you're going through a tough time right now, know that it cannot last forever. It's just a season. If you're struggling to find a job, it's a temporary phase. If your business is facing challenges, it's just a seasonal setback. If you feel like nobody wants to marry you, that too is a season. A time will come when you'll have choices. If you're broke today, remind yourself, I'm only seasonally broke. It's only for a time. That's the good news about seasons. They're not permanent. This is why we must never make a permanent decision based on a temporary problem. Seasons change, and with them, so does our situation. If you got much value in this video, give us a thumbs up. Let's hear your thought in the comments section below.